Hey y'all, it's Linda. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk about low buys. So I did my very first low buy in 2022. And the reason that I personally chose to do it was because at Sephora, they have their VIB program, and I had hit the highest level, which was VIB Rouge, which meant you spent over $1,000 at Sephora in a calendar year. And for other people, that is completely fine. I'm not judging anybody for that. But for me personally, it was a little bit of a wake-up call because I knew that I didn't just spend money at Sephora. I was also spending money at Ulta and at JCPenney and at Nordstrom. I was spending money so many places. Why did I say JCPenney? I don't think I've ever purchased a single beauty item at JCPenney. What? But I was spending money on so many beauty items in so many places, including individual brands' websites. And it just kind of was like a little bit of a stop and think moment of like, do I need to keep spending and spending and spending? So I put myself on a low buy in 2022, and I decided in 2023, I didn't really come off of it. It's not like I suddenly went hog wild again, but I just kind of went back a little bit more to the normal side, like somewhere in between. And then I decided a few months ago, I'm going back on my low buy because I had purchased something where I was like, you know what, I don't need this. So everybody has their own rules for a low buy, but I wanted to offer you some of my personal do's and don'ts when it comes to my low buy, because I do believe a low buy is very different than a no buy. So some people choose to go on a no buy and they say, I'm not purchasing any new cosmetics, no new skincare, no new hair care for the next month, for the next year, whatever they choose. But for me personally, I believe everything in moderation, including moderation. So again, I wanted to offer some of these to you as some things that helped me during my personal low buy. Maybe it will help you out. I want you to drop yours in the comments down below as well, but let's just jump in. The first do that I want to suggest is go buy what makes sense for you. So like I just mentioned, some people feel the need when they have overspent, or even if they haven't overspent to the point where they're not paying their bills, but just they've spent more than their comfort zone, they feel the need to go whole hog into a no buy and go cold turkey and not buy anything else. Other people like to set a monthly budget for themselves. So they say, okay, each month I have $100, $20, whatever it might be for you, that's how much I can spend on makeup or hair care or things like that. Whatever your weak point tends to be. For me, I didn't really have any of those set rules of like exactly how much I could spend. I personally chose to just spend a bit more thoughtfully and to really think about an item before I brought it into my collection, to really do the math in my head of like, do I already have something like this? Do I absolutely like, am I really, really wanting this? Or am I just kind of, falling for the hype of it or things like that? Do what makes sense for you. Again, maybe that means that you have to cut yourself off completely for an extended period of time. Or maybe that just means you want to scale it back a little bit, or maybe you don't even care about scaling back your spending. You just want to be more thoughtful with your purchases. Do what makes sense for you, and don't do what like maybe the most popular YouTuber or TikToker is doing at the time. You have to make it make sense for you, or else you won't get any benefits. But on that same line, one thing that I will say don't do not punish yourself for messing up. And by messing up, I just mean, say you put yourself on a no buy, but all of a sudden you find yourself in Sephora and there's the most beautiful blush you've ever seen and you buy it, and then you just feel guilty and you just feel horrible about yourself. Do not punish yourself for these things. As with any lifestyle change, it's gonna take time to get your brain really in the mode of thinking a different way, right? So be gentle with yourself. And if you see that thing and you buy that thing and you feel guilty about it, maybe question why you feel guilty. Is it because you set those parameters for yourself? Is it because you spent too much and now you can't afford to pay a big bill? Whatever it is, try to think to yourself, like, why do I feel guilty right now? Instead of saying like, oh my God, I'm punishing myself, this stinks, and immediately returning it, or making some other drastic decision, or saying, I'm just not doing the low buy anymore. Don't punish yourself. Think about why you're feeling that way and go by that. But as far as a do, I want you to sing your praises from the mountaintops when you do succeed. So maybe you saw this eyeshadow palette online, okay? Maybe Instagram has been serving you ads for this eyeshadow palette, and it is so beautiful, and you find yourself kind of twitching because you want it so badly. But then maybe you stop and you say to yourself, wait a second, let me look at the eyeshadow palettes already in my collection. And after looking at them, you decide you don't need that new palette. Pat yourself on the back a little bit, because that's really difficult, because in this world of makeup, there are so many beautiful, beautiful things that are really all trying to capture our attention. So if you're able to look at something and say, you know what, I actually don't need that, or I can wait a little bit, and if I still want it in a while, I can buy it then. Any of those things, pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself, maybe treat yourself to a coffee or whatever you might do, go for a great walk and maybe sing in the shower, whatever it is. Congratulate yourself for those little wins, because those little wins all add up into really big wins. I feel like I'm talking like therapy talk in general, and I don't mean to be, but the thing is, for me, my low buy, when I did it, I had to do these things for myself because I had to look at it as a lifestyle change that I was adapting to, and it took time. So when I did have those little wins, I definitely did celebrate, and I'd post on my communities. I'd be like, y'all, guess what? I avoided buying this palette. Celebrate me. As far as another don't, I would say don't feel bad about changing your own rules when you need to. So I talked about making up your own rules. And for me personally, let me tell you what my rules were. I decided to just really be more thoughtful about my purchases. I wasn't restricting myself from buying things, but if I saw something and I really wanted it, first, I wanted to go into my own collection and see, do I have something really similar to that? And then I also wanted to question to myself, do I really want this, or am I falling for marketing hype? Am I falling for everyone else using it? Am I being a lemming? Whatever that might be. And my rules also were to use the good stuff. I wanted to use the good things in my collection instead of saving them and hoarding them for a special occasion. But eventually I did decide to change my rules a little bit, because I found that I was sort of punishing myself if I was going against those. Like, I did make an impulse buy at one point. I walked into a Sephora, I believe it was, and they had a brand new bronzer, and it was kind of expensive, but I was like, you know what, it's beautiful, I want it, I'm gonna buy it. And that went against all of my rules. I didn't go home and see if I had the same bronzer. I didn't really be thoughtful about like, oh, am I falling for the beauty of the display or anything like that? I just bought it. And eventually I thought to myself, I was like, okay, I could either punish myself for this, or I could look at it as, you know what, once in a while, there's gonna be that item. There's gonna be that item that you want so badly, and that's okay. So I changed my own rules to say, hey, if this happens once in a while, that's also okay, but it just, for me, couldn't be the regular status of things. So just be flexible with it. Be flexible with your own rules. And that doesn't mean break your own rules constantly. But what it does mean is be willing to change them as you go along if they are not suiting you. Regarding that same exact story, one thing that I will say as a do is question yourself when you're looking to purchase an item. If you find yourself justifying it somehow, like, well, yes, I know that I have something that looks exactly like that. And yes, I know that the marketing has really been, getting on me and really been attacking me from all angles, but I still want it. Question why you want it. Is it because the quality maybe is better than your other palettes? Is it because you have seen so many looks with it that are so beautiful? Just question why you want that thing. Is it also, maybe it's a little bit deeper than that. Maybe it's because you just feel crappy today and you want to treat yourself, which is okay too. But questioning it in your own head and figuring out the why you want that is really going to help you to rein in your spending and really curate your collection a bit more. I'm going to end with one final don't, and that is don't quit immediately if you mess up. And by that, I mean, think of any lifestyle change, okay? Let's say that you go to the doctor and they say you have really high blood pressure and you should probably limit your salt intake, right? So you put yourself on, a new diet of foods that maybe have a little bit lower salt. But as you're eating it, you're like, oh my God, I'm craving salt. And maybe you eat a bag of Doritos and then you're like, you know what, screw it. I might as well just eat that anyway. If you're really trying to make a lifestyle change, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. It's going to take a little bit of patience. It's going to take a bit of patience with yourself, right? So if you get to that point where you're like, you know what, I scrap it. I was fine before. Take a step back and start over. And you know what? If you don't want to start over, fine. That's your decision. But just don't quit immediately for messing up or for, I want this thing, so I'm definitely going to buy it, and that means my whole low buy is over. It doesn't. You can start again tomorrow and still purchase that beautiful thing and have that beautiful thing. So I hope this makes sense. I know that this was a bit of a shorter video, but I just really wanted to talk about certain things, again, that helped me through my personal low buy, because I did find that there were so many resources out there on the internet and on YouTube and on TikTok that were telling me how I should be doing it, and were very specific. This is definitely 100% black and white how you need to do a low buy. And I found that my rules were a lot more flexible, and I hadn't seen a whole lot of that, so I wanted to give you guys my personal thoughts and opinions, and I really hope that this helps some of you. I want you, if you've ever done a low buy, or if you'd even like to do a low buy in the future, let me know what your do's and don'ts would be in the comments, because I'm really curious. It just is such a fluid thing, right? It's not a black and white. It's not like just, a set in stone thing that you have to do it this way or else you are a failure. So I'd be really curious to know your thoughts. But that's it. If you would like to join me on my low buy journey, I would love if you'd subscribe and become a part of the Rockstar fam. You all can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Those are all GlitterFallout. And as always, and forever, my rings got caught on each other. You are super freaking rock stars, and I love you so much with my whole heart. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.